I saw a very funny interview. Michael Bisping is over on YouTube, and he was talking about he's not going to call Chito Vera versus Dominic Cruz. He's refusing to work the booth that night because of the verbal abuse he would take from both of those two. Says he's friends with both of them. Can't make a prediction, doesn't want to call the fight. Now, I trust Bisping will be there if he's assigned. I trust that this is tongue-in-cheek. However, that's a great fight that no one's talking about. And what do you get if you beat Dominic Cruz? I mean, that's a whole other question, because Dominic doesn't seem to get a goddamn thing. There seems to be nobody that wants to give Dominic, who's never lost a fight, unless it was a world title fight. It seems to not want to move him up the ladder far enough or fast enough. At least not for what I think would be adequate. So what do you get if you beat him? Because if you can get through Dominic Cruz, something nobody else that wasn't a sitting reigning world champion has ever been able to do, it would seem like that'd be a really interesting thing, right? I mean, Sean O'Malley waited on this fight. And Sean's got his eye on both of these guys. He's got the Arizona tie-in with Dominic Cruz, and they had some back and forth many years ago. Sean's got his history, competitive match with Chito Vera, so he's got a dog in this race. And he said that he thinks that Chito can beat Dominic. And if you can do that, that is huge praise. What does Chito get for that? That's all that I'm asking, because as I look at 135 pounds, I don't know that anybody is more feared than Sterling. I mean, the respect that guys are unintentionally showing Sterling, like people aren't coming out and shining up Sterling's wheels and talking about how fast he is and what a great wrestler he is and the true champion he is. They're not out saying those things. They're saying absolutely nothing at all, which is just as big of a compliment. I don't hear him getting called out. Henry Cejudo gets inserted back into this thing about 5 or 6 weeks ago simply by entering the USADA pool. Every 135 pounder in the world just stepped aside like, well, you know, Mr. Cejudo's back, and we'll have to give him his opportunity and see where it goes. They didn't come in and fight for it. They didn't say, come fight me. I'm going to beat you up, Henry. You're never going to get there. You think you're going to get to him? Come see me for it. Nope, nobody even went for it. They all stood aside, which I found to be very interesting. There was talk 10 days ago, and it looked as though the wind was blowing in the direction of TJ Dillashaw getting that opportunity. Now, TJ would take that opportunity against Sterling, but even that has died down. And you have another problem that if you were to use the number one contender as your litmus test, so in this case, it would be Jan. Get people matched up with Jan. The first guy that can beat Jan, proved he's the number one contender, gets to go in there with Sterling. If you can't beat Jan, you go to the end of the line. But if you try to play that game, Sterling could be sitting free for a while. I'm not certain that there is another 135-pounder that can get through Jan. I'm not certain that matchup and style-wise, he is not the number 2 guy in the world. So what do you do? I mean, what do you do? Do we just wait until TJ gets better? Because TJ's got the balls and TJ will go out and do it. That's true, but we also don't have an injury report and an update. Nothing that is crystal clear on what TJ's going to do. Do we just run the clock out on Cejudo? Get him back in the pool, get all of that stuff, get his weight under control, get his training camp done, get him off of the Volkanovski, Max Holloway idea? Is that what we do, or are we going to hold a number one contenders match at some point? Which, to have a number one contenders match, we're going to need one of those contenders. It'd be more helpful if it was both of them, but we're going to need one of them at least to step forward and say, I want to fight Aljo, and I'm the guy that can beat him. Why is nobody doing that? Are you guys really scared of him? He might be a scary guy, and I don't know. Like, I know him different. I knew him before he was champion. I know him on a different level. I acknowledge that he's really good. But is he scary? Are you guys seeing something there that you don't want to fight, fellow 135-pounders? Why are you guys not calling him out? He doesn't have an opponent. He's looking for an opponent. He doesn't mind defending that belt. He got a lot of guys out of his way on his ascension to the title, which just means there's a whole bunch of fresh blood that could be circling the waters that you could really get his interest. I mean, Aljo took the bait for Henry Cejudo, and then he took the bait for TJ Dillashaw. Taking the bait, guys, he's a fighter that would like a job. He needs an opponent. He's taking anything that's come his way. That's how you should interpret that. Anybody that's called Aljo out has got a response, and the response has been yes. But there's only been 2 guys. Why is that? What are you seeing there that you're so scared of? Or do you just like him, and it's just a polite issue? Aljo treats you like a nice guy and you want to treat him like a nice guy. Like, I'm open to whatever it is. All I'm doing is identifying a phenomenon. The phenomenon is that nobody is calling out Sterling. Sterling doesn't have an opponent, and there's some damn heavy lifting being done in that weight class. Jose Aldo, he's got to be booked, right, guys? Have I just missed that one? I asked you guys this a few weeks ago, and nobody left me a comment. Maybe you thought that I was kidding about that. If Jose Aldo was booked, I haven't seen it. I don't know who his opponent is. But he matters within that class. And then you got to look at Jan. Somebody's going to have to get matched up with Jan, another guy that nobody is calling out. I haven't seen anybody say Corey Sandhagen's name. I mean, 135 pounds has never been more interesting. We got how many champions in that weight class? We got Dominic Cruz. We got TJ Dillashaw. We've got Jose Aldo. I think Frankie Edgar. I don't think Frankie's officially retired. Has he, guys? Then you got the sitting champion in Aljo. That's 5, and that's off the top of my head. I'm forgetting some, aren't I? Yeah, sure I am, because if Cody Garbrandt moves back to 135, and he's been moving around a little bit. I mean, you've got more studs in that weight class. Oh, and then you got Jan. How dare I forget Jan? There's number 7. You have 7 world championships floating around, and these guys can't seem to figure it out. Then what happens when you put Cejudo back in there? Boom, 8 world champions in one division. What? I was not planning to get to that number. I don't think there's any division that is interesting or has the potential to be as interesting as 135. But there seems to be a fear of getting to the top. Seems to be a real fear of what you have to go through, or whether or not Aljo's just going to say yes. He's a fighter. He needs an opponent. 2 guys have said his name. He said yes to both of them. I don't think that's because he has a little something personal towards TJ or towards Henry. I think you could insert 2 more names and he would say yes to them as well. And I think those names agree with me, but for some reason they're not calling him out. What am I missing here? What am I missing? Why do you not want to fight Sterling? Why do you not want a championship opportunity? I don't have a whole lot of guesses. He's a really nice guy, and so you don't want to upset him? Maybe. I wouldn't love that answer, but I would accept it. Or is he a really scary guy, and you don't want that smoke? I'm not going to love that answer either. But I will accept it.